week after rejecting their request for her to appear this Thursday. And if Secretary Kathleen Sebelius does appear next week, Pennsylvania Republican Congressman Tim Murphy will be one of those questioning her. He is the chief congressional investigator of the Obamacare rollout. Congressman, good to see you. And so she rejected the invitation to come this Thursday because she's going to be at some gala at the JFK Library in Boston on Wednesday night and just couldn't make it. First of all, your thoughts on the rejection and now the statement that she intends to be there the following week.
Well, this is something that is deeply concerning, and the real-time problem is now, not a week from now. Although I'm pleased that she's coming before us, I'd like to know a lot sooner rather than later, but we'll look forward to seeing her next week. What we are going to continue with this week, however, are questioning the very companies who put together the software and the whole program. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars doing this, and we want to know what are the problems and what are the glitches, and if this can be saved, and what it will cost to save it.
Why should we care about that? The president today sort of said, look, it's been a bumpy rollout. I'll take responsibility for that. You know, we're looking into that. But what's really important is the law itself, and that's what we should be focused on.
Now, this is not just a bumpy rollout. This is a sign that says the bridge is out, and they're going to charge you a fine if you don't go over it anyways. So it's much more than that. This is something that the company, CGI, initially was given a $50+ million contract. Then a lot of add-ons. It went to $90-some million, then $200-some million, and it still isn't working. That's not a bumpy rollout to the American public. 500 million lines of data, lots of dead ends of data. That's what we know so far. And we'll hear more from the companies, but we want to hear, was it software glitches? Was it something they did wrong? Were they told to do something that led to these problems?
Well, what we've been told is that they needed 5 years to complete this thing, and she had 2. Kathleen Sebelius had 2. So is it her fault that she had an abbreviated time frame?
I repeatedly had people before my subcommittee on oversight and investigation. Marilyn Tavenner for the head of CMS, Gary Cohen as part of this as well. And what they always told us was everything's fine, everything's on schedule. Don't you worry about a thing. We asked questions about the navigators. We asked questions about the cost. We said everything is fine, don't worry about it. So this leads us to a couple concerns, Megyn. Either they didn't know what was going on, the system is set up, wasn't possible to tell them what's going on, or they knew and they did not want to share that with Congress for whatever reasons are going through those minds.
How are you guys going to get to the point? How are you going to get to the point where you're satisfied that the American people are protected? Because the website is not just the portal through which you register. You put very sensitive information in there. There's potential identity fraud. There's potential giving a government subsidy based on the information that's typed in there that a person may not wind up deserving. That's our money being given away. I mean, what can be done to assure the American people that they are protected?
Well, I'm not sure from the standpoint of hacking it is secure. With 500 million lines in there, we don't know how many holes there is in that data that can allow someone to hack in. Remember that 500 million lines there. An F-22 Raptor, I understand, has about 1.7 million lines in there, and that has been hacked into.
You're speaking Greek to me now, but I get your point. It's potentially hackable. But does Kathleen Sebelius answer for that? Because, Congressman, she won't even give us the numbers so far. You know, she's on the Daily Show. He's the only one who's gotten the chance to question her, and she kept saying, I don't know how many of them rolled. I can't tell you.
Well, but that's a serious problem. If a person doesn't know, is it because the data is so confused? It's such a mess you can't even get useful information from it? Or is it they know and they don't want to tell Congress with that? Here's another great concern about the data that goes with this, too. What about the IRS that is going to have access to a lot of this data? Will they keep it confidential? Will their members be able to go into it? That's why I introduced a bill specifically to say that it would be a criminal offense if someone within the government goes and checks your medical records. But the serious problem that affects us right now, hundreds of thousands of people are being told they're not going to have insurance anymore. Their companies are discontinuing.
We talked about that earlier. We talked about that earlier, and she's got to be asked about that. But I want to ask you before I let you go, should anybody specifically be held accountable for this disastrous rollout? $300+ million of our money spent on a program now, the President admits, has been extremely problematic.
Well, yeah, a number of individuals will probably be held accountable. We need to find out who it is. This is the pattern that this administration has with so many other things. People will point the fingers of blame at someone else and not take responsibility. What you don't measure, you can't manage. What you don't take responsibility for, you can't have the leadership for to fix it. So right now, we just have a lot of confusion and finger pointing. I want to know the data. We have to help the vulnerable people in America who are worried about their insurance. They have no answers right now.
Representative Tim Murphy, thank you, sir.